From the studios in beautiful Oceanport, New Jersey, welcome to the biggest and greatest podcast ever. I'm your host, Ray K. Hey everybody, Ray K here, another version of Catching Up with Ray K coming up. I think we're at number 7 now, but I'm going to tackle 3 things that have happened over the last week that I thought were very interesting. One is very apropos because there's a big heroin addiction going on right now in the world, particularly the U.S., particularly the world. I'll call it the world. But unless you kind of know somebody or you see it, you really don't understand it. Like anything in life, until you experience it, then you have a little more empathy for the cause and for the issue, for the problem. And I had a situation that was interesting because a friend of mine's daughter, who I won't name, of course, has this issue. She's been in and out about 7 times, trying hard, young. I mean, early 20s. And had a run-in, got stopped with another guy. She was a passenger, and she got arrested. And, of course, she went into a public defender type thing about 8 months ago. And so her father, who I'm friends with, told me about this thing. And it was kind of an upsetting situation because I found out how the system works. If done correctly, it works great. If it's done the way it's supposed to, it's really good. But if you get human elements involved, if you get all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to give you my experience of what I found out here. I mean, it looks like it's going to end up good. I hope, but to get there was sort of like a life of how it works, and it takes all these different turns, and it's like you're battling this disease, and now you got to battle these other elements that are coming even against you, So I really, since I was involved with the guy, and I helped him out as far as funding, the attorneys. It was crazy. Here's what happened. She got stopped, and she had a court appearance and had a public defender like 8 months ago. The public defender wasn't even on record as her public defender. It was somebody else. And this I cannot verify, but she said that he wanted her to plead guilty to a felony count of possession, probation. Or you got to roll the dice, was sort of the innuendo, and, go to trial, and then you're going to go to jail. And, it was like a hardball tactic. And she was well aware there's a PTI in New Jersey called a pretrial intervention, which for first-time offenders, which she would apply for, you got to stay clean for a year, which is fair, and then you get have no record then. I mean, you have the arrest record, but you have no record of a crime on your background, because that could, as everyone knows by now, that follows you around your whole life. If you she wants to be a nurse, if she wants to be a dental assistant, or if she wants to do anything with a license, she's going to, it's going to affect her if she has a record, as they say, quote unquote. She could be a waitress the rest of her life, but she doesn't want to do that. So the system works. I mean, it's a great thing. Everyone deserves a chance. It's a second chance. It's an American type thing. And okay, so the public defender's boss is the other guy's public defender. So her public defender's boss, according to her, I can verify 90% of this. This part I can't, because this sounds almost incredible, is his boss. So his boss's guy has a bunch of things on his record. So if she goes through PTI, she could be a witness and testify against this guy. So his boss is fighting for his guy. And so there's a huge conflict of the underling, the guy under the boss, trying to get her to plea, so she gets knocked out of the equation and is not a witness against that guy. I mean, I almost cannot imagine that happening, but in life, I guess anything seems to be possible. So she was strong. She held strong, and she knows, because she's around this element, that other people she knows went through PTI. So she I gave her a lot of credit for holding strong against that. She could easily take in a plea to get this thing over with, but she kept asking about PTI. Lets time go by. I learned with these things, you got to attack it soon. If you want to, but you're not in your right mindset. So, she let it go to indictment. Anyone that goes through this, get it before indictment. If you're getting PTI, it's just a lot easier. You could still get it, except in indictment, now you got more things going on it. You got to, go through the system, because now, you got the indictment you got to work through. Before the indictment is a lot easier. But it is what it is. So she gets indicted. That alerts her. She's clean the whole time through now, because that woke her up. That traffic stop, which might have been a little bit in question too, but I think it was a clean. So anyway, so she gets indicted. She, tells her dad. Dad is he needs a little help, so I'm helping out. So I know a guy, and this is where it gets messed up too. This guy charges $15,000 because she has a court appearance like in 2 days. It's a Friday. She has a court appearance Tuesday. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know what these things go for, So I was like, well, okay, we'll. Let's think about this. So I said, send the retainer agreement, and he goes, well, I'll show up in court. I go, okay. So the guy's partner shows up in court and doesn't know what he's doing. It's really bizarre. So he's like treating her like a hardened criminal. You might go to jail for this. They want you to plea to a 1-count felony, and we'll see what we can do. And I'm not sure we could even get you PTI. It's hard to get. And she's like, what? So she tells us that, and we're like scratching our heads. I go, my friend seems to know what he's talking about, but maybe they never dealt in something like this before. So she just spoke to her friends, and they say this stuff's like $1,500, $2,000. I go, you could fill a PTI out online. It's easy. So I was like, wait a minute. So anyway, I went, through the phone book. Metaphorically speaking, these days, now it's on the internet, but I started calling and checking things out, and got a local guy, and $3,000, which is digestible. It's a decent amount because in anything more than $1 is, you don't want to spend extra money, but it's worth your freedom for life. $15,000 would have been worth it. So 3 sounded like a kind of a bargain. So we go with this guy, and he said he works hundreds of these cases, and I don't know why your original lawyer didn't just file PTI at that court hearing, the arraignment. I have no idea why. I'm not a lawyer. It's the first time I'm really involved in this kind of stuff. And so anyway, he goes to court, and he tries, let me try to get you. I'm going to be in court Monday anyway, and maybe we could file the PTI and get this process started. So we meet him there, and he gets us in. So she files the PTI, which is literally, it took about 10 minutes to fill the application out. It's almost like applying for like a job. It's like a 2-page thing. It's easy. They do screen it to make sure you're really qualified by not having a prior conviction for drugs. And she did not. That checked out, of course. So that passes. There's like 15 other things. Do you have support from family? Are you clean now? Are you working? Maybe your age might come into play, as opposed to if you're 85 years old. If you're 23, you got your future ahead of you. So. And she has the support as the lawyer said. Look, you got people in chairs right behind you, sitting there. They got your back, literally. I'm sitting literally 2 feet from her back, and we're full support. So that really goes far to get this thing, because you have to still get it approved. So we get her interview, 45-minute interview. She comes out beaming, smiling. Now you have hope. It's you went from like what's going on, like with that other lawyer, to now there's hope, and it's like the way the system should be. And so it's about a month or two process. So we're going to have to, wait it out a little bit to hopefully she applies. But my guy says it's like 90% of people in her similar cases. It's like a low-level thing. Everything's there, teed up for her to get this PTI. And she got an upgraded job. She's really determined. It'd be ashamed if people like this don't get it. Then there's something wrong, to squash out a future. I don't think it's going to happen here, because as I learned, we should have did this actually before the indictment. We should have did it, worst case, on the day of the arraignment after the indictment. Now the more you wait, you have 30 days from the indictment to file the PTI. Then you got to get the judge to approve it. So the longer this stuff rolls on and grinding through the system, it's just more difficult. So we did catch it within those 30 days. So she's sometimes in life you got to get these things, I call them earthquakes, these wake up calls, and sometimes it takes this kind of thing. As the lawyer says, which I agree, sometimes you got to get arrested. Sometimes you got to get this PTI to see this big thing hanging over your head to wake you up, to kind of almost like that old, remember the old prison show in the 70s, Scare You Straight? It's that kind of thing. And and she's so hopeful, and we're so excited, and we really hope she gets this thing approved, which we're very sure about. So, but anyway, it's all done. The process is done. She did the interview. Now we just wait. It'll be a couple months. On my catching up episode, I'll let you know a month or two if she gets it, because it is it's just a great thing to see the system really work. But you need the right lawyers. You need everybody working in unison together, which we know in life doesn't really happen a lot. It's like the yellow brick road. We get through all these different roads. And the witch is over there, the lion's over there. All these impediments in your way. But at the end, in the long run, if you get there, that's really what matters. How you get there, it's probably never easy straight through. So anyway, she's getting there, and now it looks like the road is a little clean ahead for her, and we're excited. So we'll keep you abreast on that. So it's actually a very good feeling of what happened in the end. So we're excited. Second thing I want to tackle today, or tap on, or whatever the word is I met Tiki Barber, the ex-Giant football player, a couple of days ago in New York, and working on a business situation with him, which actually he agreed to come aboard as CEO of this company we're forming, along with my good friend at WFAN. So I was sitting in the chairs where Boomer Science sits, meeting all these sports guys. It was pretty fun, walking, because my friend has like the open arms, so I'm with him, so I'm rolling around there talking to all these guys you hear on the radio. So it was pretty cool. Boomer wasn't there, but I was sitting in this thing taking photos, and it's just radio stations are pretty neat. And so we meet with Tiki for pizza. I want to do one of my Slicing Jersey episodes, but I don't want to kind of do it on this business meeting thing, Very casual, about my size. I'm 5'10". Kiki's like eye to eye with me. You think these guys are bigger than life, and he's a lot more athletic than me. Obviously, I wouldn't want to try to tackle him on the field. You could tell this guy still is humble. I think he's 44, but in tremendous shape. You could just athletic shape. Strong. The whole thing. So we're sitting there, a nice hour and a half eating pizza, going through our venture, which is going to help autistic kids work for us, creating radio stations around the country, using Tiki's celebrity status to bring in other celebrities. Because all these guys know everybody. He's big with the NFL Players Association, so he knows all the NFL guys, which is cool because I'm a big NFL fan, and a whole bunch of celebrities. You wouldn't believe the Rolodex. It's nice to talk to someone that's like knows Michelle Obama and knows presidents. Aside from politics, because I don't get into it, but you're talking about some influential people that these people know. So you're like a step away from that, from that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so that will help having Tiki as CEO to help everything along. And within the next month, we're going to drive this thing a little more forward, and we'll hope to kick this off. But we're going to help about, I don't know. I put in 100 million people, but it's going to help a whole bunch of autistic kids on the spectrum, all different levels, and it's going to also help their families. There's going to be for raffles for foundations with celebrities. Broadway is going to be involved. We have a few celebrity guys. Nicolas Cage's brother is going to be in this thing. Then this guy knows a whole bunch of people. So it's like from every facet. And sometimes again, life sometimes eventually falls into place. There's more to go with this, but it's really an exciting thing. And as I say, the journey is more important than the destination, when you get there. So this is that journey, and I'm enjoying it. So that the cool thing though, so that's cool. But the cool thing kind of is, and it's a little sad. It's so I leave the office. All right, everybody's happy. Okay, yeah, good. Tiki's coming on. Normal guy, by the way. I mean, he's just Tiki Barber from North Carolina. I mean, he's just like, picture your high school friend that you're really friends with, and then you have like, you're soft spoken, you have nice conversations, you're very, very smart. That's Tiki, just a normal type guy. Just he could have been hanging out with us, when I grew up in Jackson, and one of the guys. So that was pretty cool. When the older you get too, you don't get in awe of anybody. The only one I would get in awe of probably now was Paul McCartney. Or the Beatles, if any of the Beatles were alive, or Ringo. Other than that, I mean, you realize as you get older, everyone's just people. There's no, or maybe an idol that I kind of like a John Havlicek just passed away. I mean, there's an emotional thing, so maybe that kind of thing. But other than that, I don't get in awe of anybody anymore. It's kind of weird. When I was a kid, I used to get in awe of everybody. Oh, look at that. There's so-and-so. There's so-and-so. Now not as much, But so I leave the offices. Okay, nice, beautiful day, spring day. I'm walking down. And the juxtaposition on this is a homeless guy, approaches me. They're in New York. There are not a lot of them there. But this guy, I could tell. You could tell. He wasn't scary looking. He wasn't threatening. But he was. He was asking me for money for a bus ride home. Which sometimes that's a line. Where I've had a lot of people. That seems to be the thing. Ask the guy for money for the bus trip, and then who knows what they spend it on. So I'm thinking, here's the line again, and it might be true. So tempted to walk away, but I'm like, I said, you know what? My train is still like 45 minutes out or something. So I'm gonna hear him out I'm gonna give this guy 5 minutes. I mean, I could always just walk away at any time. So I said, what's up? So he's telling me I got to get the bus to Brooklyn. He's telling me the story. He needs $7. So I'm like, okay. I said, all right, what if I give you that? What if everyone gave you $7? He goes, wow. He goes, no, man, I got to struggle. I got to keep asking people. It's tough. I'm trying to get my life together. And I said, well, what if, I go, can I put this on film? I want to video this. I go, just 5 minutes. Let me just talk to you about your life. Is that okay? I took a shot. And he said, okay. So we went to the side a little bit outside Penn Station and, gave the guy a little interview, like how'd you get here? What happened? I haven't posted it on YouTube. I don't know if I will. I did a little thing on Twitter. I could post it on YouTube. If a lot of people want to see it, I will. So maybe I'll judge and see what the comments are, But so I interviewed the guy, and it was very touching at the end because once you humanize people, I mean, I'm meeting Tiki, who knows how successful he is. I mean, this guy's an all-time NFL running back of the century, probably the best giant running back ever. He's doing well. Now I got this guy who, he's same age as Tiki. He said he's 45, and I think he was in jail by. I think he just got out a few years ago because he was telling me the story, and he's trying to make a go at it. So he's doing his construction work, and then I do my hit and miss. I always do that on my my other podcasts with other people. I did a few myself. I'm running out of things to one word association things. So I do that with him. Favorite color. If you were in a foxhole, who would it be? Favorite music. And the guy was like, yeah, you realize that no matter, like, we're all human. I mean, he liked the Eagles. Hotel California was his favorite song in there. Foxhole, he says brother, and he tears up a little bit. So it's like, what? I get this guy asking me for a bus ticket home, and I got him almost crying here. I think I could, if I laid it on heavy, I mean, I could have really had him crying, which I didn't want to do, of course. I don't want to make it. Yeah, like exploitation. It's the last thing I want to make it look like. But, I mean, I was getting into it with him, and maybe it was good for him to get this stuff out. And at the end, my last question is, which I thought was really touching, was I asked him, as I usually do at the end of my hit and miss questions, if you had one wish in the world, and I'm a genie, and I'm going to wish it tomorrow, I'm going to wish you even right now. What would your wish be? Right now, I'm going to grant you whatever wish you want in the whole world. And, he could have said, I want $10 million, or I want a beautiful house, or whatever. And he says, I want my mother back. It's like, whoa. And then he kind of, did that, blinked, it was like, you want your mother back? He goes, yeah. And it was like, I was holding strong, but I'm like, wow, that's, out of all the things in the world, the only thing this guy wants is his mother, So that was, it just, I don't know, it said it all. That was it, So that was kind of touching. It was a finish off of a nice day, of a touching moment of life, of kind of both ends of the spectrum, So that was interesting that I was kind of in the middle of both those things, So that was interesting. On the lighter side of things is my hit and miss version of top NFL running backs of all time. This is the top 10 I've seen and heard about. A lot of them I have seen, and there's a lot of them, of course. But because I met Tiki and I'm gonna be working with him, I'm gonna do my little running back top 10 list. So. I'm gonna say in order too. How's that? I'm gonna go over and above and say this is in order. This isn't just 10. This is in order. It's hard to go against Jim Brown because he started the whole thing off with the greatest running back and averaging 5 or 6 yards a carry, power, speed, was great catching the ball. Retired at the prime of his career. I think he retired at like age 29. So he was smart enough to do that. So, Jim Brown has to get the ring as the top running back of all time, power and speed combination. Who I really thought was great was I thought O.J. Simpson was great. I thought at the time he was like the guy in the 70s. He had that speed and speed running combo. It's the white elephant in the room. We all know what happened. But as far as running backs go, the guy was put an asterisk next to him. A little asterisk because of what happened later. But he was a great runner. When he played, there's no doubt about that. Walter Payton was incredible. He had that. It wasn't big. I got a feeling he was only like Tiki Barber size probably. But man, he had a lot of records. He was just a great guy. Most of these guys are tremendous guys, very smart. To make it through college, you got to be very intelligent, So all these players are very, very highly intelligent, highly smart. Walter was that guy, man. You had the football smarts, and you had to love Walter Payton. Died early of a tragic disease. That was a shame because you hate seeing good guys go like that, especially early. Barry Sanders, he was great. He was steady, solid. Every game he played, he was like a threat, So, Barry's in that. Who was great? Who is great? Yeah, I think he's still playing. Adrian Peterson. That guy was scary. I'm a Packer fan, so our arch rival Vikings were always. He was always a threat. I know the quarterback is king now, but Adrian Peterson was one heck of a running back that always scared me. Eric Dickerson of the 80s of the Rams, that guy was amazing. One of the first guys that seemed like almost perennially had 2,000 yards rushing. He was tremendous. I'm going to have to give a shout out to Earl Campbell. Power. You have to love a guy who has speed and tremendous power. That guy would put his head down and just run through the line, sort of like a Larry Zonka, if you remember in the sea. There was one point where he would just get 4 yards of carry. They carry guys on the back. It was just like so powerful that he would just have to run, and it'd take like 3 or 4 guys to catch up to him, and then he'd be 5 yards down the line. But Earl Campbell, 4th and 1 at the goal line. He'd probably be the one guy that I'd want to have, get the ball. So Earl Campbell from Texas. I always picture him being like a Texas with a big Texas hat, one of those cowboy hats. And to round it out, I'm going to have to give a shout out. I seem to be using that word a lot on this show, but another shout out to ex-Packer. He didn't have the yards they have now because I think it was like baseball back then. The stats or even football quarterbacks. They didn't have the passing yards because the game's changed. But Jim Taylor was he was the rival of Jim Brown. I mean, he was the number 2 guy in the league, and he was tough, and he won the championships. He was gritty, he bleeding, pounding in the Sam Huff. I mean, he would go right into the linebackers. He wouldn't try to avoid him. I think he was one of the first guys. I don't know, probably Marion Motley, of the Browns, like in 1952. He was probably one of those kind of guys. But Jim Brown, I mean, year after year, he was one of those kind of guys. So I got to put him. I got to put one of those kind of guys. Like John Riggins, one of those tough guys. Jim Taylor. I mean, he's going to round out my. I don't know if I have 10 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only got 8. Okay, so I'm going to have to. I'll give 2 quick ones. Tony Dorsett, and who's good now? Who's a great running back? Come on, Ray. Let me think of. I need one more. Who did I really like? Oh man. It's tough. It's tough to think of one off the top of my head. So I'm going to have to give a guy that that may not be there after I think about it. But I'm going to go. Mercury Morris. How's that? Mercury Morris, number 10. Why not? I mean, Mercury was pretty cool for the Dolphins, undefeated. Yeah, Mercury, number 10. That's my top 10 list of my NFL running backs. Join me next week for another version of Ray K. I'll be talking about what happens this upcoming week. That's the great thing about life. You don't know what's ahead. So I mean, it could be anything. I can't even say what I'm going to talk about, except for my third section of my pod. I'm going to talk about my top 10 boxers of all time. That's very popular, so stay tuned for that. You'll hear my boxers and a couple other things I experienced. So anyway, enjoy the week. Catching up with Ray K. We'll catch you later.